Breaking news just coming in. A United States Navy destroyer came under live fire early this morning in the Caribbean after a Venezuelan patrol boat opened fire during an active maritime operation. Defense officials confirmed the incident is being treated as a serious escalation. At 6:41 a.m. local time, calm seas turned hostile. In international waters, a Venezuelan patrol vessel abruptly altered course and fired multiple rounds from a 76mm naval gun, sending shells across open water at close range. The target was USS Mason, moving at patrol speed on a counter-narcotics route. Instead of disengaging, the Venezuelan ship closed distance aggressively, steering directly into the destroyer's projected path. Inside the United States warship, alarms sounded. Radar tracks locked. Defensive systems shifted posture within seconds. What began as a routine patrol instantly became a live confrontation between two armed navies. United States officials say the situation remains under close watch as more details continue to emerge. This encounter did not happen by accident, and it did not happen in a quiet corner of the sea. The Southern Caribbean is one of the most heavily monitored maritime zones in the world. United States Navy destroyers operate here daily as part of counter-narcotics missions designed to stop trafficking routes before they reach North America. These waters are narrow, crowded, and dangerously close to multiple coastlines. That makes every maneuver matter. For Venezuela, proximity changes the game. Operating near home waters allows patrol vessels to move quickly, lean on coastal radar coverage, and test how far pressure can be applied without triggering an immediate response. Opening fire near a United States destroyer in international waters is not about defeating a warship, it is about testing limits. For the sailors aboard USS Mason, the situation is far more direct. This is not theory or signaling. This is alarms in the dark, hostile intent on the radar, and seconds to decide whether a situation stays controlled or spirals. Moments like this are dangerous because they compress time. A single patrol boat, a few shells, and a narrow stretch of water can force decisions that ripple far beyond the ships involved. What appears small on a regional map feels very different when steel is closing fast over open sea. And that is the question hanging over this incident right now. Was this a calculated warning from Venezuela or a misjudgment that pushed straight into escalation? Press 9 if you believe this was deliberate pressure. Press 1 if you think it crossed a dangerous line, and subscribe to stay with us as this situation develops. The longer the contact held, the more dangerous it became. Close encounters are not defined by explosions, but by how long restraint can survive under pressure. Every additional second increased the chance that a minor deviation, a wave, a correction, a misread could trigger something irreversible. On the displays, predicted paths overlapped again and again, forming tight cones of uncertainty. At this range, even perfect information carried risk. Reaction windows narrowed to moments. If something changed, there would be no time to debate intent or seek clarification. Action would have to be immediate. The air inside the ship felt heavier, not from panic, but from focus. Muscles stayed tight. Hands hovered where they needed to be. No one leaned back. No one relaxed. This was the phase where adrenaline stopped rising and settled into something colder and sharper. Outside, the other vessel continued to project confidence. Its movements suggested belief in proximity as protection, the idea that being close enough could delay or deter decisive action. That assumption has ended confrontations before. It has also ended ships. Inside, no such assumptions were made. The crew understood that closeness does not guarantee safety. In modern naval encounters, distance favors the side that controls information, timing, and discipline. None of those advantages were slipping. The most dangerous part of the standoff was not what had happened, but what had not. No missiles, no explosions, no sudden turns. Just sustained pressure, grinding away at the margin between control and chaos. This was the space where incidents become history, where a single order, spoken calmly, can define how the next hours and headlines will read. Everyone knew it, no one said it. The encounter had reached a state where outcomes no longer depended on warnings or signals. They depended on resolve. And resolve, once tested long enough, demands an answer. The situation did not de-escalate, it multiplied. As the two ships held dangerously close, something else began to change. Navigation data started to drift subtle at first, then noticeable. Positions were still usable but no longer clean. Bearings wavered just enough to introduce doubt. A localized electronic interference zone had come alive near the island chain ahead. Then new contacts appeared. Not one, not two. Multiple small tracks, low and fast, lifting from land and skimming over the water. Unmanned aerial systems, cheap, simple, and difficult to sort at close range. Each one demanded attention. Each one forced systems to divide focus. This was pressure by design. The goal was not destruction, it was saturation. Force the destroyer to watch the drones. Force it to account for interference. Keep it busy while the patrol vessels stayed close and unpredictable. Inside USS Mason, the response stayed disciplined. No sudden turns, no rushed decisions. Minor adjustments in speed and heading created space without signaling retreat. To an outside observer, it might have looked like hesitation. To trained eyes, it was positioning. Minutes passed. They felt longer. Every sailor understood the risk. Small drones can still cause damage. Electronic uncertainty can still lead to mistakes. This was the phase where accidents happen not because crews are unprepared, but because too many variables demand answers at once. As the layered threats held, fatigue began to creep in, not physical, but cognitive. Every screen mattered now. Every blip had to be sorted, classified, and prioritized. The margin for error thinned with each passing moment. This was no longer a single confrontation, but a controlled overload designed to force a mistake. And that is what made this moment so dangerous. The encounter was no longer one-on-one. It was layered, compressed, unstable. Pressure does not need to break steel to win. Sometimes it only needs to make one side blink first. Now the question was no longer whether tension would rise. It was who would force the next move. If you believe this escalation was a calculated move by Venezuela, press 9. If you think it pushed straight toward a breaking point, press 1 and subscribe to stay with us as this confrontation continues to unfold. This was the moment Venezuela believed the balance had finally shifted. The drones remained airborne, scattered and fast, forcing attention to split across multiple directions. Electronic interference continued to blur the picture just enough to create hesitation. Up close, the patrol vessel pressed on, convinced that proximity had neutralized advantage. At this range, size and distance were supposed to matter less. From the outside, the destroyer appeared to yield ground. Its course adjusted slightly away from the threat. The distance between the two ships opened by a narrow margin. To the Venezuelan crew, it looked like pressure was working. The message seemed clear: push harder, and the larger ship would give space. But that movement was not retreat. It was geometry. Every adjustment was deliberate. Every degree of heading mattered. The destroyer was not trying to escape the encounter. It was reshaping it, changing angles, stretching distance just enough to regain control of timing. What the Venezuelan side could not see was how the picture looked beyond the immediate horizon. The drones were loud and obvious, pulling focus forward. The interference was concentrated near land, and the patrol vessel, eager to maintain contact, followed just a little farther from its comfort zone. Inside the ship, the mood did not change. No celebration, no raised voices, just quiet confirmations. Distance increasing, angles improving. The kind of silence that appears when a plan starts to align. This was the twist. The most visible threats were not the real danger. The decisive move was unfolding elsewhere, out of sight, where the patrol vessel had no awareness and no reach. The Venezuelan crew believed they were dictating the encounter. They believed the destroyer was reacting to them. They did not yet realize they had crossed into a space where the next decision would no longer be theirs. If you think this was a smart trap by Venezuela, press 9. If you believe the United States just turned the tables, press 1 and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. The moment did not arrive with shouting or urgency. It arrived with a short order, spoken evenly across the internal net. Change course. Engage. On board USS Mason, the ship completed its turn. The distance to the patrol vessel was greater than moments before, but the danger had not faded. Drones were still inbound. Electronic interference still flickered at the edge of the picture. Yet the balance had shifted. A missile launched in a sharp flash, climbing hard before leveling out over open water. It did not chase noise or rely on outside cues. It followed its own guidance, committed from the instant it cleared the deck. There was no warning on the Venezuelan patrol vessel. One moment, sensors were working. The next, they were not. The first strike tore through exposed systems, stripping awareness and coordination. Seconds later, a second impact drained power and speed, turning an aggressive advance into a drifting silhouette. The drones pressed on, unguided but still dangerous. Close-in defenses answered immediately. The automated gun roared to life, bursts cutting cleanly through the air. One by one, the threats vanished from the screen. Silence returned. No cheers followed, just calm confirmations. Threats neutralized. Ship secure. Crew safe. What had just happened was not chaos. It was control exercised at the last possible moment. A decision that could not be undone and did not need explanation. This was the point of no return, not because weapons were used, but because restraint had reached its limit. The message had already traveled far beyond the horizon. If you believe this response was necessary, press 1. If you think it risks wider escalation, press 9 and subscribe as we break down what comes next. In the minutes that followed, the ship did not relax. Sensors stayed hot. Tracks were watched longer than necessary. In modern naval encounters, the real danger often comes after the first exchange, when assumptions replace caution. None were allowed. Every action taken would now be reviewed far beyond the bridge. Commands ashore would dissect timelines, angles, and restraint. Allies would watch quietly. Adversaries would draw conclusions. What happened here was no longer just a moment at sea. It had become a data point, a precedent, and a signal, one that could shape the next encounter before it even begins. As daylight spread across the Caribbean, the water returned to its familiar calm. The Venezuelan patrol vessel no longer advanced. It drifted, damaged, and silent. The interference faded. The airspace cleared. And USS Mason remained on station, fully operational. There were no victory speeches, no celebration. For the crew, this was not about headlines. It was about getting through the watch without losing anyone. Systems were checked again. Logs were finalized. The ship stayed alert, because the most dangerous moments often come after the shooting stops. Beyond the immediate scene, the impact widened. Encounters like this never stay local. Commanders across the region study timelines. Analysts adjust assumptions. Rules of engagement are reread with fresh emphasis. A single patrol boat forced a modern destroyer to reveal how it responds under layered pressure, and that lesson travels fast. The signal cut both ways. For Venezuela, it showed how quickly close-range pressure can slip out of control. Cheap systems and proximity can create danger, but they don't guarantee leverage. For the United States, it reinforced a hard truth of modern sea power. Dominance is not about firing first, it's about seeing farther, choosing distance, and deciding the moment. This incident will likely reshape behavior in the days ahead. Patrol routes may shift, escorts may increase, postures may tighten. What began as a quiet morning encounter becomes part of a larger pattern of testing and response in contested waters. And that is the takeaway. This was not an ending, it was a signal. A reminder of how fast tension can rise when lines are pushed at sea and how little time remains once restraint runs out. If you believe this response helped prevent a wider crisis, press 1. If you think it risks escalation in the Caribbean, press 9 and subscribe to stay with us as this story continues to unfold. What matters most now is what happens next. Every move in these waters will be judged against this moment. Restraint held, then ended, exactly where it did. That memory will shape decisions long after the ships involved have moved on. In the Caribbean, encounters are brief but consequences last.